cares about the single player in Call of Duty is the common mantra, which is probably true, but I make up that 5% who buy the games annually just for the single player. And it's not always a complete waste of $60, with some real standouts like the amazing Infinite Warfare. But it's still a known quality at the end of the day. A Call of Duty campaign boils down to a whack-a-mole-like game of pop-up, aim down the sights, and shoot. But what makes a good Call of Duty campaign? Well, for me, once you make peace with the fact that these are overly cinematic linear shooters, you'll be fine with the fact that they are roller coasters of set pieces. A good Call of Duty campaign, to me, is one with visually cool set pieces and a good rendering of a Hollywood presentation of war and espionage. Call of Duty has fully left the era where it tried to depict war on a more grounded level. Today, the grit of warfare is through a Michael Bay lens, and that's fine. That can be fun. Going through a visual roller coaster of war can be a nice diversion from life or more involved games. Sometimes they can be clever in their set pieces, sometimes they can be visceral in their presentation of combat, sometimes they can just be good games. So is Cold War a good game? Sure, it has its moments, but it shows scars of possible development problems and the lack of a cohesive vision. But being rough around the edges also means that there are some interesting aspects to it, creating an uneven but still worthwhile campaign. If you like Call of Duty campaigns. It says on the box that Cold War is a Black Ops game, but I'm not convinced. Sure, some familiar characters show up, and there's reference to previous events. Sure, there's a continuation of mind control espionage themes, but that's inherent to Cold War storytelling in general. These Black Ops carryovers feel stuck on more than anything, and if they were removed or changed, I'm not sure it would make for a worse game. If anything, it would possibly be better. In Cold War, you primarily play the role of silent protagonist Bell, assisting Robert Redfield lookalike Adler to hunt down rogue Soviet agent Perseus, an agent who may or may not actually have existed, who, like classic villains, thinks ravaging all of Europe with nukes. Don't worry, these bombs will leave the sites alone, just kill the people. And putting the blame on the US will win the Cold War for the East and, not just ruin the world for everyone. All set against a backdrop of the Cold War in the 80s. Last year's Modern Warfare attempted to be more grounded, which in my opinion led to a more sedate single player. Here, Cold War returns to the more bombastic over-the-topness that really stretches your sense of disbelief, which is in line with Black Ops developer Treyarch's style. Infinity Ward's games always attempt to be more grounded with a focus on immersion. Treyarch's, I find, are more about simply being badass with a very nihilistic view of the world. But this is not 100% Treyarch's game. Instead, freed from the prison for a few hours anyway, Raven Software takes charge with the single player. And perhaps with some involvement from Sledgehammer Games, we have a Black Ops title that, while still completely ridiculous, is a bit more interested in being less in your face and more interested in the cinematic version of Cold War theatrics, which translates to movie-like set pieces and inventive missions mixed in with the typical shooter gallery gameplay. Call of Duty's answer to the criticism of Call of Duty games being overly basic shooters seems to be, well, here's this mission that mixes up the formula. World War II had the Nazi espionage mission, Modern Warfare had the less shooting but still intense and CNN realistic slow-paced safehouse raids, Infinite Warfare had the bridge elements in side quests, which makes that game's characters and world feel a bit more engaging, and Black Ops 2 had story branching. Cold War kind of throws these all in a blender and somewhat comes out successful. Like Infinite Warfare, it has a home level you return to where you can interact with the supporting cast, overhear character moments, and take on a few side quests. Like World War II, it has unique missions such as a cool atmospheric stealth jaunt through East Berlin, complete with its own little side activities. A almost Hitman for Dummies open level where you have to gain a key as your primary objective. To obtain it, you can simply stealth around and get it, schedule a meeting with the key holder and poison them, or convince a prisoner to do it for you. Then the level transitions to a mini yet tense heist sequence, all while having several choice options that can change outcomes. But it doesn't stop there, as one level uses an unreliable narrator to create a visual mind trip of a level.
We've been over this already. Skip ahead to the next part. The bunker door was right there at the ruins, Bell. You went in. Bell, go into the bunker now.
Throughout most of the game's missions, there are choice options that lead to different outcomes. Most are irrelevant, but a few change significant things, and one completely changes the ending.
Elevator conversation always gets awkward.
all in the help of a traditional conspiracy theory infused Cold War story, clearly inspired by spy and espionage fiction such as Ronin, the Manchurian Candidate, and 3 Days of the Condor. Cold War revels in that 80s aesthetic with a story of mind control, but it doesn't really go further than its influence. Bell works with a set of espionage experts, but none of them are more than their character design and voice, which is a shame as the supporting cast could have been much more if they had just had more screen time, and the story lays it on very thick about what is going on with Bell. But I can't tell if it's unsubtle bad writing or it's supposed to be obvious, yet it still treats the twist with utmost importance, complete with a very Bioshock-like gotcha moment, leading me to believe no, the writing just lacks the restraint to be clever. A shame because the ideas are cool and make for a unique Call of Duty. You follow an espionage subplot where you have to collect evidence over the course of the game and then decipher them to find a specific target, but this ends in a bland attack the 3 areas overflowing with enemies mission, where you play as Mason, the returning lead from Black Ops 1. This is where the somewhat half-assed and uncohesive elements come into play. Bell isn't a compelling character. The whole spy who came in from the cold feeling would be a lot better if Bell was an actual character, not a mute protagonist. The whole safe house could have been a place where you do actual things, creating a sense of home, but instead you don't spend that much time there or with the cast, creating the feeling of being in an espionage world. The levels where you play as Bell feel like they have a lot of heart to them, but the missions where you play as Mason, on the other hand, feel like they are just there. Except for one that features the return of a Black Ops level, they are rather mundane and typical missions. It's here where I feel the Black Ops part of the game just feels taped on. Woods and Mason return from Black Ops 1, but they feel pointless to the story. Extended cameos that show up sometime to help the rest of the cast, but these interactions could have been better served by using the supporting characters like Sims or Lazar, who I sometimes forget were in the game. None of their missions feel creative or really add anything, making this feel more like a Black Ops side story than a direct sequel that Wikipedia claims that it is. Perhaps the rumored development trouble between Sledgehammer and Raven are true. Perhaps they were working on a Cold War game independent of Black Ops. Playing the game, I was reminded of Raven's work on Quake 4, which, while not an amazing game, felt oddly immersive and had a strong supporting cast as your military squad. I am also reminded of Sledgehammer's work on Advanced Warfare, which also had a pretty incredible focus on its characters and unique set pieces and level moments. So it wouldn't surprise me if the two couldn't agree, and Treyarch had to come in and decided to inject elements to make it more in line with the Black Ops series, which for me makes the game not feel as cohesive and feel like it misses the mark. It's almost there. The gunplay and counter design are just as good as any Call of Duty. The game has good levels and set pieces that play with the formula. It has a passable plot. It just often feels rushed, just like the final level that ends on a complete whimper. What's here is still fine Call of Duty, but it could have been great Call of Duty. For more unsolicited takes on anime, video games, movies, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.